Okay, class, this video should be fairly short. I hope I'm not going to speak too much because I have influenza and I'm losing my voice. So, to help you with the homework that you were having problems with yesterday, it might help you to figure out the domain and range of each of these functions because each of these functions and the variations of them um, they'll help you with the domain and range of any function that looks like this will have the same domain and range. Anyway, so domain, that's an interval notation. There's only one output value, b. Because there's no restriction on what you put in for x. X can be anything, and it'll get you out anything. As we can see from here, the domain is infinite, the range is infinite. Right, like the other day, stops here is the range. There's no restriction on the domain. This one is negative infinity to 0, but we don't include 0. So we could put in any value except 0 into this function. We'll get out any value except 0. Right? So let me give an example. As an example, if I have f of x equals 1 over x plus 1, now x plus 1 can't be 0, so negative 1 has to be excluded from the domain. So the domain will be negative infinity to 1, to negative 1, and negative 1 to positive infinity. Everything except negative 1. Range. The range will still be negative infinity to 0 and 0 to infinity. I still can't get out 0. There's no way for 1 to equal 0. And there's no way for this to make the expression 0. Right? If I had a 2 up here, it wouldn't change anything. If I had a 5 up here, it wouldn't change anything. If I have an x up here, that would change stuff. But I don't think you have a problem like that. This one. This one I could put in everything except 0, and I'll only get out positive numbers but not 0. For this one, domain, and the range, you'll notice, be 0 to positive infinity. Right? So notice this is the smallest value this will have. So a quadratic function like f of x equals x squared plus 2. Again, the domain is negative to positive infinity. But this time the range, how do I get out 0? So 0 isn't a possibility for this output. In fact, what you'll see is this raises the graph up by 2, right? So when I graph it, I will see a parabola that starts here. So the range will be 2 to positive infinity. Cubic function, there's no restriction. The domain is all real numbers. So is the range. The square root function, we're not allowed to put negatives. So the domain starts at 0, goes to infinity. And the range is also from 0 to infinity. Right? For a function like f of x equals the square root of x minus 2, I know that this stuff has to be bigger than 0 or equal to. X minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0 in order to take the square root. So x has to be bigger than or equal to 2. So my domain is from 2 to positive infinity. Okay, x is greater than 2. Right? Don't worry about the range. The range will still be 0 to positive infinity. Last but not least, the cube root function. What you see, no restriction x and no restriction on y. Negative infinity to infinity for both. All right. Hopefully that'll help you guys finish your homework. Remember that adding a number any place here won't change the domain and range. Not when it's infinities, not when it's all real numbers. The only domains you have to be careful of, the square root function, reciprocal squared function, and the reciprocal function. Those are the only 3 functions that we've studied that has a domain restriction.